behalf of the ISEA team, I'd like to welcome everyone to this dialogue and planning workshop on co-creating an enabling environment for women in agricultural value chains towards promoting transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So excited to see everyone face to face, really investing time to talk about a very important, I think, topic that requires action from different stakeholders. It is because I feel right now is the moment for us to really make a difference and transform lives of women, because when we try to transform women's lives in the different spaces we can hold for them, we'll be able to transform economies, countries, and hopefully the world. Women's economic empowerment is among the key work areas of UN Women in the Philippines. This, together with ending gender-based violence, access to justice, as well as women, peace and security, and humanitarian work. We see it as a cross-cutting theme that can help transform lives of women in different spaces and places. Thus, we are really excited for this opportunity to work with ISEA in finding ways to promote women's economic empowerment in the agricultural sector and in the ADCs. I first heard of their work when they launched the Transformational ADC guidelines way back in March at the Asia-Pacific Forum on Sustainable Development. Listening to Lisa, I really realized that the guidelines presented will be able to offer us concrete ways of how we can make sure that the women's economic principles in terms of gender-responsive marketplace and engaging community partnerships with private sector and businesses could be much articulated and acted upon. UN Women, together with UNGC, in 2010 promoted these 7 principles, hoping to really rally the business sector and the companies to adopt a framework that would promote gender equality and women's empowerment in their business operations. And among that, really required the businesses to look at how they could ensure that their leadership and the commitment of those leadership would really promote gender equality internally in their companies and externally, on how they would do that as they reach and as they make a difference in the communities they serve. We hope to see them do and promote gender-inclusive workplaces and safe spaces, promote women in different levels and really see them through leadership roles, offer an opportunity for them to also be able to make a difference in the decision-making space. We want to see this translated more and more, not just in the agricultural value chains, but across all of the different economic spaces. But today we begin with where I think the most critical work needs to happen. And this is where we want you and your commitment and actions to really make a difference. I look forward to learning and hearing more from the experiences of partners who've been doing and adapting the tools already. And I hope that we all get to take away key actions that we can make internally in our own offices or in our own practices, and find ways to be able to partner, collaborate, adapt programs, or set policies internally on how we can make it happen.
Originally, ito lang po yung pag-uusapan sana. But when we noted that there's actually going to be a number of government agencies who are going to be coming to this meeting, we decided that we should also give some importance to the guidelines for transformational partnerships and women's economic empowerment in agricultural value chains, which are a set of proposals to support the practice of the benchmarks. No? Let's keep in mind that the benchmarks are actually tools for practitioners, so those who are the enterprises that are working in agricultural value chains. And on the other hand, the guidelines are a set of policies and incentives so that government can actually incentivize the practice of the benchmarks. Yeah?
So this morning we heard from UN Women. We found out that we is one of their 4 program areas. Then we also heard nag-deep dive tayo konti dun sa ating benchmarks and guidelines. So we found out the benchmarks, actually yun yung ating tools, no? So there are 3 tools. One for SEs, SMEs, another one for corporate agribusinesses, and another one for ABC program holders. We also learned about the stories of women's economic empowerment from Philippines, Indonesia, and Thailand. Ito yung mga best practices na nag-inspire sa ISEA to come up with the benchmarks. And some of the lessons learned from the benchmarking research about the 3 elements of empowerment. Afterwards, we heard of two, yung tinawag natin sa kanila, brave souls, yung 2 out of the 17 na nag-pilot. So, Good Food Community and Alter Trade Foundation. So, ako nagustuhan ko yung sinabi ni Mami na they didn't find the scorecard intimidating. Kasi they just, were able to just adapt it to their context and just going through the process. Surfaced a lot of areas for improvement. So, ang dami nilang na-realize, no? And then for Alter Trade Foundation, even before the benchmarks, actually best practice na sila. So, they're already looking and trying to understand the women's roles in sugar production. They're working on transforming partners to, farmers into entrepreneurs. And then meron pa sila mga diversified farming na ginagawa. But nung nag-benchmark sila, may nakita pa rin silang areas for improvement. So this afternoon, we had our workshop. I guess for me, ang gusto ko lang to point out that I noticed there are some entry points na mas internal. So for example, a lot of you said, pwede ito ma-adapt sa aming M&E, sa aming training modules, so that's more internal. But also good that you gave ideas for entry points sa mga existing partners and networks nyo.
I'm very happy. Makikita niyo naman yung mukha ko, no? Big smile, yan. I consider this a defining moment in our advocacy for the benchmarks and the guidelines. Why? Because before this activity, dito sa Pilipinas, we were actually engaged bilaterally with a number of you, di ba? So, ngayon lang nagkaroon ng isang multi-stakeholder at multilateral dialogue na hindi lang tayo nag-usap tungkol sa benchmarks and guidelines, nagplano pa tayo, di ba? So that's why I consider it a defining moment. And I'm hoping that because it is now multilateral and multi-stakeholder, na sana yung community of practice for the benchmarks and the guidelines would become multilateral and multi-stakeholder as well. So, thank you very much, everyone. Parang congratulations and thank you for being part of this defining moment in our history of advocating for the benchmarks and the guidelines. Maraming salamat.